The Saline Solution presents Naked, the podcast series that pairs it all. Real life experiences, how they were dealt with, and the lessons learned. Facing the person in the mirror always makes us check ourselves, accept our past, and guides us to make the decisions that are best for our peace of mind. Are you naked? Here's your host, Saline Griffith. This podcast is for adults 18 years and over.
Hey y'all, welcome to Season 4, Episode 4 of the Naked Podcast. And I'm so happy to be here with you. Now, I'll tell you all a story. I knew that I wanted to have this conversation. I didn't know how it was going to happen. And it just fell into my lap, like literally. The other thing is, I didn't have a title for it up until this morning when I got up. Now, I'm planning to write a book or produce a short film. It's called Beneath the Scars. And Spirit said to me this morning, that's the name of the episode today, Beneath the Scars. Simply because we're talking about a journey in or with breast cancer. You know, this month of October is breast cancer awareness. And we definitely want to hone in on that. But not the cliche aspect of it where we just go on wear pink or we're going to just talk about getting your, yes, it's very important to talk about doing your breast examinations, getting your mammograms done, and sharing that awareness. Very, very important. Not just in the month of October, but all the time. It's important to do that. And not just to talk about it, but to do it. So today I have two guests with me. I have Dr. Natalie Johnson, based in the UK, so she's joining us via Zoom. And Natalie is an Oncoplastic Surgeon. She will tell us what that is, right? But she's from right here in Trinidad and Tobago, one of our very own. So Natalie, thank you so much for joining us here on the Naked Podcast. And I have with me also on set, Mel Gabriel, otherwise known as Mel, affectionately known as Mel. And if you're on IG, you know that Mel is very, very vocal about her journey. Mel, welcome.
Hi.
To Naked Podcast. Natalie, welcome as well.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for agreeing to be here, ladies, because this is a very important conversation, and I thank you very much. Now, I had a journey with cancer as well. My mom passed from, lung cancer in 2015, sorry. Yeah, she did. We got colon cancer at first, and then it metastasized to her lungs about 2 years afterwards. So that was very a traumatic experience for our family. But when I tell you, a very learning experience, that journey, I cannot say that I could replace it with anything at all, because it is so unique. And even though you hear about so many people being diagnosed with cancer, going through the journey, everybody's story is different. And Mel, I know that you've been very vocal with that, and I thank you for sharing your story with us. So how was this for you?
In which part? In the entire?
Just finding out about it, because I know you said that cancer is prevalent on the maternal part of your family.
Definitely, we have a family history. I feel like I've always been prepared for this, preemptively, because of the experience with my mother, who also passed, and that was like 12 years ago. Me and my sister especially, we've always been kind of checking, and we know how to check, and we've been really prepared. So when I received my diagnosis, when I felt it lung, I was like, okay, it's feeling a little different, this could be a thing. Let's go check it out. And then I got the diagnosis, and I'm like, all right, cool. What's the next step?
Yeah.
For me, I've always been like, all right, what are we doing?
Being very logical about it.
Very logical, very proactive, very solution-oriented, because I know I didn't want to wallow. I didn't want to sink.
It's important to have a positive mindset when you're dealing with something like this.
Yeah, but I also learned I had to be careful of the toxic positivity.
Correct.
Because if I was too naively optimistic, then I didn't feel my feelings. And
I remember that part of our journey as well, because I remember telling my sisters, I said, come what may, we have to be prepared.
Yeah.
We were praying for a miracle for her to get well, because you're seeing this person deteriorating in front of your eyes physically, but her spirit was once her body was deteriorating, her spirit, boy, wow. I always talk about this story, by the way, because her spirit has always been a very strong one, and she was the one who kept us going. If you look at my tattoo, all my sisters have this tattoo right now. It's faith, love, and strength, and these were the words that really helped us. We noticed that in Mommy. Those were characteristic traits that we noticed in her.
Mm.
And so I always empathize with cancer patients because it's like, you are such a badass for going through this journey and still empowering other people.
Yeah.
So your state of preparedness, because your mom and probably other family members would have experienced that, and to know that this is finally at your, not finally, but it's actually at your doorstep. I know you had your hashtag.
Because I feel like I was always thinking finally.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That it was going to happen.
This was just going to be it. I felt like I was always gonna. It was always gonna happen for me.
It's somewhere in the back of my mind.
Paranoid by nature.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like, all right, I mean, now I didn't expect it would happen before 40.
Oh.
That threw me off. So for me, I was like, I'm 45, late 40s, I'll probably have a scare or have something to deal with. Didn't expect it to happen at 37.
Natalie, a lot of the times I'm sure you would have come into contact with patients upon finding out about this. Are you at that first point of contact, that encounter with a patient? How is that for you?
Well, the first part of the question, absolutely yes. We run the clinic where we're essentially meeting the patient for the first time because they've come because they had a concern or they found a lump or, as Mel was saying, family history. We start with the diagnosis, and usually by the time we've either examined or we've done one of the investigations, we have an idea and we pre-warn the patient that it's looking suspicious. We don't have confirmation. So we sort of prep them. I don't want to say that I'm desensitized, but this is my bread and butter. This is what I see every single day. So in order to be supportive for the patient, I can't internalize it to a degree and make it about me. So I have to give them that support to say, this is what I think it might be, but not to worry. Whatever it is, we will be able to deal with it and we will be able to support you through it. Because the first thing patients think is that everybody's concerned that it's going to be cancer when they come in. Everybody's worried. The reason they are there in that clinic is because it might be breast cancer. It doesn't matter what their symptom is, but they're never prepared to get that diagnosis. Thankfully, we don't give it on the day, and pre-pandemic, you'd bring a relative in for you. It's not pleasant. It's not, I can't even use the word fulfilling, but because it is what I do and I'm doing it to help people, I could only say I'm encouraged by these women, and I enjoy the end of the treatment where we can say, the cancer's out, you're going to be fine, and we're going to look after you for the next 5 years.
That part, I would imagine, would be very fulfilling, because to have to tell someone you are free to go, you don't have to come back to me for chemo or anything like that. Mel.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could imagine. The thing is, Natalie, you were saying that you're not desensitized to it, but I oftentimes find, because I have come across some doctors who don't have that bedside manner. I actually had a doctor change for a totally different scenario. We got in an accident and my daughter broke her leg. And that doctor was so horrible that I told him off, and I had my boss get the minister to replace the doctor for me, because I'm like, no, I'm not doing this, not with my 3-year-old. And so I understand what doctors have to experience when you have to talk to patients about this in terms of the possibility of having cancer. And it's never going to be easy for a doctor to say, this is what it is. How do you cope with that, Natalie?
I think, just listening to your story there, being a doctor myself, it's easy for me to excuse them. But to tell you the honest truth, the days of medicine where you would come in and the doctor just tells you, right, this is what you've got, and you don't ask a question, they don't give you any sort of information so you could make an informed decision. They don't give you options. Those days should be over. Bedside manner is 50%, in my opinion, of the treatment. Right. How that patient feels when they leave your consultation room is really important. They need to feel like they can trust you. They trust your diagnosis, particularly in our culture. Trust a diagnosis. They know that you're going to do the best for them. And when they leave there, they feel confident that doctor says I'm going to be okay, and therefore I'm going to be okay. So that bedside manner, it's huge.
Agreed.
Part of the training up here is communication skills, because they've realized it's a vital part of helping patients understand. And because I'm based in London, we sometimes meeting patients, English is not their first language. So it's not just a matter of telling them the diagnosis on what's going to happen and what the options are. It's about making sure they understand. You also meet patients of different age groups, young patients, and then elderly patients who don't quite understand what should I be doing, and they may not have somebody with them. So I honestly think that communication needs to change. Definitely. I particularly, because cancer is something you need to be empathetic about. And when you're giving somebody bad news, there is an art to doing it. It's not, well, let me just put it on the table for you. This is what it is. And then you send them off. You can't. We also practice here that we never give the diagnosis without a support breast care nurse in the room. So there should be a relative with them, pandemic provided nowadays, but you always have the support of a breast care nurse. So when you are finished giving them that diagnosis, that patient is in shock. They won't know the questions to ask at the time. They won't know the decisions. They're thinking about have I just been told? Sometimes they're emotional. Most times they're emotional. But you don't just send them home on their way. That's not the way to do it. They now leave the room and they go into a quiet room with a breast care nurse who calms them, talks them through it, and gives them a little bit of literature and support and a phone number to call if they have questions when they go to sleep and get up tomorrow morning. Yeah. And throughout their journey, they are accompanied by that breast care nurse, because that's half of the treatment. So it's never just, right, this is what's going on. This is what we need to do for you, end of.
I love that that part of it is being addressed. Mel, what was that experience like for you?
Not that.
You're kidding me. No. So I was about to ask you, you followed everything in Trinidad? You were in Trinidad and
everything in Trinidad.
Not that we're knocking out Trini doctors,
no.
It's a learning experience for the doctors as well.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
The thing is, I went to I don't know, this is so funny to me. I went to the Cancer Society to do my ultrasound, my biopsy, and to receive my diagnosis. Mm-hmm. They're fine. They're great, right? The doctor was very empathetic. Yeah. He's accustomed, I guess, not desensitized, but he's accustomed to giving the information and giving the diagnosis. And he started by saying, "Well, Miss Gabriel, I'm so sorry, but," and I'm like, "It's okay." He's like, you look at me like, so, and for me, I was like, all right, what are the next steps? What can we do? And I had my questions prepared because I'm very preemptive and very but for surgery and chemo, I went to St. James. No, that's public health care.
Yes.
It's crowded, the doctors are overworked, they're understaffed, they're frustrated, but they do their best. The doctors and the nurses, right? So there is no breast care nurse. You'd be lucky if you remember your name.
That's true,
because they see so many people, they're overwhelmed, right? So I get it. But for me, that level of care, it didn't really happen. I had a consultant at the breast clinic. I saw him once. And that's when we set up the whole date for surgery. And after that, the doctors rotate because it's a clinic setting.
So you don't have that one-on-one interaction.
You don't have that one-on-one. I actually insisted on sticking with the junior doctor I was assigned to.
Right.
Every time I went to the clinic, if I got a different doctor, I'd be like, "No, I'm waiting for Dr. Hannah." And they'd be like, I'm like, "Nah, it's fine, I'll wait for Dr. Hannah." Because I'd already built that rapport and it's okay.
And that's important because it's I think in a situation like that, you really need that personal interaction.
Yeah.
This is my issue for anything at all, because right now I need to take my son to the health center. I'm like, I don't know, Somebody hit him in his eye, and I'm like, eye boy? Let's wait until Monday to see what's going on because of that same thing. For things like health, I really, really believe that you need to have that one-on-one, that history.
Yeah.
And so when it came to the point of having to do your surgery now Mel has done a double mastectomy, but Fred,
Yes.
she had a hashtag, guys.
We named him Fred.
Fred.
Okay.
Fred was present in which breast?
And right.
He was in the right side.
Yeah.
But because of family history, he decided to do a double mastectomy and deal with that one time.
But also because when I went to St. James and they palpated my chest and all that, they found like some other lumps on the left side. Because I was diagnosed in December, but I went to St. James in maybe February.
Okay.
And Christmas, they shop probably.
Yes.
And then they found some smaller lumps. So I'm like, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Can I ask, did they diagnose the lumps on the left-hand side as well? Did they do a biopsy?
They didn't. Yeah. So that's a whole other thing.
Before we get to your surgery, my last mammogram, they told me that because I did the ultrasound afterward, and they did tell me about the way that the technician handled it. And then prior to October starting as breast cancer awareness month, there's something called breast density D. I saw.
Right.
On my radio station, because normally I will check out which day of observance it is. And so I saw that and I was like, hey, what is this about? And I remember her saying to me, oh, this is just density, man, what you see in this mass, what you see in here, she says, but the way she made it sound is as though it's nothing for me to worry about. So I decided to read on a little more. And then I realized that with that density in your breast, it is possible that the lumps can hide there. So further tests need to be done. And that was not told to me until cuss. Yeah, because it's time for me to go back for my mammogram. But I'm definitely going to bring it up because, hey, I'm not playing.
Yeah, you want to be thorough. Yeah.
Correct. So at the point of having to go do the surgery, so you did both of them at the same time?
I did both at the same time. My OCD would not allow me to just it's just standing. Okay. I'm like, I'm not going to be walking around with one. Let's just do the two. I already have a family history. It's fine because, so it wasn't going to happen.
But family history with people doing double mastectomy?
No, my mother only did one side.
Okay.
My grandmother also only did one side. And I had an aunt who didn't want to cut at all. And I mean, she died way before she needed to, I guess. That's the way to put it.
Okay.
So she could have been here a lot longer, but she didn't want to cut. So,
And Natalie, when you have to tell a patient that they have to do either a double or what do you call the first one?
Double mastectomy or single mastectomy or lumpectomy.
Single mastectomy. When you have to tell a patient this is at the point of it being the last resort, or is it that you can't just remove the lumps? What are the stages that you go through before you get to this point of having to actually remove the breasts?
Yeah. So nowadays, when I say nowadays, in the last decade or so, we're trying to conserve the breast best we can because of quality of life. For us, I mean, the breasts are external organs. There's a lot of visual associated with it. It's part of womanhood for a lot of women. Breasts come in all shapes, size, and form. So people relate it in a different way, in the same way people relate to the womb, so to speak. So when a woman comes in and we've got a lump, we have to tell her all the options. We either do nothing, and the risk is your cancer may or may not progress. And this is what the option is. We either take out the lump and try to reshape the breast. And there are this many ways we can do it. And if we think it's going to disfigure her, we offer a mastectomy with or without reconstruction. This is the oncoplastic side of surgery. So when we consult a woman about surgery, we never just offer a mastectomy. We literally go through all the options with them. So we tell them whether we either do nothing at all and what the consequences of that are, pros and cons and such. Whether we need to do a lumpectomy and we can conserve the breast, which obviously is the most ideal outcome if you can. depending on the biology of the cancer. And if we offer mastectomy, we offer it with and without reconstruction. There are women who say, no, I just want a plain mastectomy. I don't want any reconstruction. I'm happy to have a flat chest, which is their choice. And there are women who like, no, and it doesn't, the age is not the limiting factor. It's risks, comorbidities, other problems, diabetes, smoking, things like that, and whether they can survive an operation. So when we offer a woman a mastectomy, because either it didn't respond to chemotherapy before surgery, or it's too big a lump, or it'll disfigure them, we then say, we can offer you reconstruction with either an implant or using your own body tissue. And we go through what that means. So it's not often that we're just sending a woman away with a mastectomy, particularly younger women who are the ones that tend to have the reconstruction. Again, it has to be choice. You have to have autonomy in the decision that you're making, because you're going to survive this cancer journey. And it's what happens after that in the past we didn't really pay attention to, and we have to now.
Awesome. I like that you give the options and you tell people everything up front. Did you have that experience, Mel?
Yes,
Yeah.
kind of.
Mm-hmm.
I always knew I wanted implants.
Okay.
Like for me, I'm like, guess reconstruction, let's go, what are we waiting on? And I had to wait because, well, I was told it would be best to wait. Public healthcare would not do it immediately because they don't want to run the risk of infection. I still had to do chemo, I still had to do radiation. They were like, after everything, then implants. So I'm like, okay, but I just want implants.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine actually, she, after I announced my diagnosis and whatever, she was probably to check and discovered that she too had cancer. She did a double mastectomy and did reconstruction one time, but she went to somewhere else.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, I'll wait. I'm not patient, but I'll wait, but I think they were very good at letting me know, all right, we have a plastic surgeon on staff, this is what's going to happen, and we don't want me to talk about it when we get to that point. Yeah, I'm not doing it.
Oh, so you're waiting to do that? Mel was saying that you would have gotten your options and all of that. But I'm looking at Mel's social media pages, and this woman looks like she's celebrating this thing, by the way. So you're doing your oiling, and I love that acceptance. So even though you're going through the journey, it's very reassuring for even those of us who we're not even remotely close to finding out anything like that. But you have me. When I saw the video with you oiling your scars, and I'm like, hey, I don't have scars, but I'm definitely going to be oiling these clothes, checking them. That's what it really was, a good way of reminding us as well to check.
Yeah.
Sometimes when people do like an amputee, when they do that, they tend to have what they call a phantom pain. Do you get that?
In the beginning, I did. Sometimes I get like, your nipple itches or something else to get that off and on. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Natalie,
fun times over here.
Yeah, no, about 3% of women after mastectomy have chronic pain. I mean, in Mel's case, hers went fine because the pain has settled with time. But there's some women that have chronic pain long term, and we have to find ways of dealing with that. Because we're disrupting the nerves on the skin, the nerve endings, which is why sometimes she gets that histamine response, that sort of not in the true sense of a phantom pain, but it is because it's not there. Do you see what I mean? But these are all manageable. We have sort of adjuncts to help get you through these symptoms. And I think you were just saying that you're waiting for your delayed reconstruction.
Yeah.
Which, it's interesting to hear about your journey and what the plan is next for them. And if you decide that, yes, I want to, or no, I don't want to anymore, it'd be really interesting to see the outcome.
Yeah, I'm looking forward.
I both.
I don't know if I'll be showing them off as much as I show the scars, but
I tell you, most of the patients you have them show them off, because that survivorship part of it, the fact that they are the only person who knows what they went through.
Yeah.
So to them now, there's no more prude, there's no more shy. I'm showing you my life here. I'm showing you that I've survived this. I'm showing you that I'm proud of my body,
And I wasn't very shy before. I was telling them, I'm like, listen, I'm going to get implants, it's going to be fine, I'm going to be scantily clad all the time. And you're going to be okay. And they're like, all right, sis, do it. Because that's it. I want to play mass, I want to play in a pound, I just, it's going to be...
Do it all. Just do it all.
I don't care.
But how was that for you? Because you're wearing a top now and the breasts are there. So how do you ever feel... Because I mean, I know I kind of sense your personality from just on social media. And I'm like, well, it's Mel. So, but I know that some women are probably not able to come to terms with that next step of just seeing nothing there.
In the beginning, for me, my main concern was, all right, what am I going to wear?
Right.
You know, so I'm trying to figure out, because I look in fashion, I'm like, what am I going to wear? How it's going to fit? I have a lot of low cut tops, like I'm just going to flip down and wear it at the back, you know? And I remember I met this lady at the breast clinic, and she had a double vasectomy as well, but she stuffed her bra with socks. And she was like, girl, I don't know what you're woman. She was like, yeah, girl, I can't do. Some just walking around, just, I can't do that. I'm like, okay, that's okay.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, but with the initiative I'm doing now to give people those softies for the breast, it's for that very reason that some women are very conscious of it. Yeah. Now, it's a wide spectrum, because there are women who actually prefer to be flat because, you know, it's very vogue, it's very chic, it's very elegant, and there are others. Everybody has a preference. So we sometimes meet women who are like, no, that implant is too big. No, thank you. I want to look, and in their words, elegant in my top. So everybody's perspective is different, which is why I said to you just now, it'll be interesting to see if you decide you want to go ahead with it, or if you decide, no, I like this.
My decision fluctuates every day. Like right now I'm at 95%. Some days I'm like, I'm a 40. I'm like, this could work actually. Because I'm now in the gym again, and I'm not looking less and less like, you know those rooms in Men in Black?
Oh my god.
Yes. That's how I do. No, Jenna, I know what you mean. Alright. Walk around you don't have that on top to balance it out, so your belly just bend and you're walking around like,
but when it's so but I know exactly what you mean. But nobody.
So I guess for balance it's interesting. But once I kind of tone up, maybe I might be more interested in being more bold.
I think I mean, this is not at all to influence the decision, but remember, you're very young. Yeah?
Thanks for saying that.
You don't feel it. Well, you look it, but you definitely are it as well. Chronologically, you had your diagnosis at a very young age, which is more popular, obviously, in the Black community and in Asian communities, you know, and the cancers tend to be more aggressive in our demographic. And obviously, you will outlive this. So you have a long time to come to terms with whatever decision you make. Yeah. The thing is, survivorship and what you went through, you know, usually these types of patients like yourself are sure of their decisions when they've made it because of the journey that they've had to go through, you know what I mean? But trust either decision you make, it'll be the right one, whichever one you make. So this initiative I was telling you about is for women like your friend that you just told us about, that are talking about, they want to have that breast mound, they want to have that symmetry, they want to feel, because they're coming from a generation that, you know, it was that important. And it doesn't matter age as well. It doesn't matter age or frame. It's just about a personal choice and how women feel in themselves. And can you imagine, we were giving these women something that looked completely different to what they look like. So it's actually making the situation worse than helping, because there's this pink thing sitting in your bra and you're worried about it poking out, you're worried about it being noticed. And I mean, apart from all the other reasons why it made them feel like their care wasn't considered, then what is the point of it? Do you see what I mean? So I understand why she stuffed her bra, because in a lot of places, as you mentioned, they don't even offer this temporary or permanent, you know? But kudos to you.
They don't. No, they don't. Not at all. I don't think I've heard of it here until I heard about the softies that you're doing in the UK. Congratulations on that, because I think it's an amazing initiative. and especially the step further that you took in terms of doing it for the skin complexion.
Absolutely.
Because it helps with the psychological aspect of it.
100%. I mean, softies have always been around.
Yeah, the softies have been around before.
Yeah, they've always been around. We always give a patient after a mastectomy, while they're recovering, you will be offered, measured by a breast care nurse. So you have something to fill the bra, and it's soft along the chest. You still have that symmetry. So, you focus on your recovery. You're not thinking about, I've had this surgery, now my body's changed. How do I look to myself? How do other people see me? That kind of thing. And then you can have a permanent one, which is a lot heavier. But a lot of the women tend to keep the softer version because it's less irritating and it's not as heavy, and they can pop it in and out. It's easy to wash. So they've always been there, but they just didn't cater to people of color. Which, I mean, if you look at the wider demographic, there's no place anywhere in the world now that it's just a white or European demographic only, And in some of the hospitals I've worked in here, it's Asian or Black mostly. So it was ludicrous that we didn't have this option. So it was a passion project that we finally decided to, because we're in the position to do it now, to get it done. So I'm really pleased that we got this far.
Natalie, what has the reception been for your patients in London?
They're overwhelmed. We gave each patient a survey before we put it out, and then we gave them a survey afterwards. And what they said before, we were shocked. I mean, we also don't speak out. We don't listen, we don't like it, but we just say, I didn't like it. And we grumble to ourselves. But we don't have that historically confidence to speak out and say, or demand what is right for us, because most of the time we either get shut down or ignored, or why are we asking for more than we deserve? We should be grateful you're even being let through the door, that kind of thing. But these women were saying, I got this and I never used it, and now I just wear clothing that's oversized, or I got this and what was the point of it? I felt so aggrieved, or I felt so insulted. And we didn't know. It was heartbreaking to read some of these messages. And then once they got it, we had one of our women, Veronica Park, and she gave her testimonial. And she wasn't just pleased she thought she was going to get one color. That is the other thing. It's not one color of brown or black. It's a range, because we come in all different shades, and we come in all different sizes. And her response was, and a lot of others, well, you know what? Now I can wear a see-through top because it will be matched. Now I feel I can dress like myself. Because as women without any diagnosis, we struggle with acceptance, identity, comforts, how we look socially. We already have these issues. To add to it a life-changing operation, you want to give as much normalcy as possible. And as you mentioned, Celine, the psychological aspect of it is so huge that the little bit that we could do now to make them feel, one, you're welcome in this hospital because we recognize you and we see you. You're no longer invisible to us, and you just take whatever we give everybody else. We're catering our care to you. And two, we actually care about your experience, which is different to the experience of a white patient. And that bodes so much trust in that patient in the department, and they make them feel included. So what the feedback that's been coming back from patients is just, wow, thank you for doing this. Every single interview that we have done or met, there's never been a dry eye in the room, because it's such a big, and I mean, because it's also Black History Month. So I think it means a lot more for us than a medical intervention. It's more of a, you're doing it for us. And those are the messages we get from people who are not having the cancer diagnosis, but they know somebody who has, or they work as a nurse and they just think, thank you so much for doing this. This means so much, because somebody's finally caring. So it's only been positive so far. It's still early days. And then the next thing is everybody wants to know, how can we get one in Africa? They want to know, how do we get it there? This is what we're working on at the minute, because obviously the concern is the price point and how people are going to be able to, afford this without having to break their backs, because currently it's available on the national health system for the patients in the hospital I work in.
Oh.
You see? So they don't have to buy this, and you shouldn't have to. It should be part of your treatment, and it should be offered to you. Yes, there are people who want to buy a replacement. There are people in the private sector who will pay for it themselves as they would any other treatment. But for the bog standard patient walking through that door, you should be offered this as part of your treatment and part of your recovery. And that's what we're working on trying to get done.
Seriously agree with that, because it helps along the journey, and at least you have that, as I was saying before, in terms of the psychological part of it. It helps with that next step.
Yeah.
Whilst you make a decision whether you want to stay with your scars only, or if you want to do the prosthetic breast. Yeah? So it's a nice.
I could get some.
Yeah. So when are you all coming to Trinidad with this? When are you coming home with this?
No pressure.
I'm working on this. Trust me, I am working very hard, because we need to sort of encourage companies to invest in this. And then I have to bridge that gap between here and Trinidad, speak to the right people to say, is this being offered and how can we make it happen? I think that's a medium-term goal, I have to say, because what I don't want to do, and what you never want to do, I mean, I did my medical school and my initial training in Trinidad, so I have 100% respect for it. And that's what gave me my grounding in order to further my surgical training in the United Kingdom. So we don't want anybody to think you should be doing and you're not doing. We want to say, this is what we have, and we think it will make a difference. So how can we help you get it? You know what I mean? Without criticism, without prejudice. So it's a medium-term goal, because I'm currently trying to get it in all NHS hospitals here for patients to have it for free. And then I'm trying to get it out to the wider world. So it's a passion project with a capital P, you know? So hang fire the minute I can, because I have less than 2 degrees separation from breast cancer myself, not from treating it, but, family. And they're also in need. Do you see what I mean? Yeah. And I think that's a lot of people's story. They know somebody very close, a friend, a relative, an aunt, a cousin who has suffered breast cancer at home in Trinidad. And this is a survivable disease. This is something that you should not consider, you're going to have a death sentence anymore, especially we have screening now. We're picking up cancers earlier, I was going to ask you, Mel, if I'm allowed to ask a question about, did you have genetic testing?
No, it was recommended, but I did not have the genetic test done. And that's because of several different reasons. The timing, surgery was about to happen. I went into St. James and I was told, all right, surgery in I think it was 2 or 3 weeks. And everything kind of moved very quickly, and I was like, all right, cool. One thing at a time, trying to settle, but I didn't do it.
Oh, I think that's a perfectly fine decision. I mean, you had a very strong family history. So based on that, your risk assessment, obviously they took that into consideration. So that's perfectly fine. Yeah. But I was curious to know what the system is like, and if they offer it to somebody like you who would be a candidate for genetic testing. And obviously that would determine whether they would do a double mastectomy or not. But you made the decision with them anyways, which probably was the right decision to do.
Oh, definitely, yes.
Yeah. I remember when I visited St. James with my mom, and the doctor there did say to us, he said, especially you girls, because it's more on your mom's side of the family, you all need to go get tested very frequently for everything, because it can go anywhere. It doesn't mean because your family has a history of breast cancer, you can't get cancer somewhere else. So he said, and for us, our family history has been in this area here, so cervical, ovarian, that kind of thing. So he said, please just make sure and get yourself tested. Yeah, and this is another reason why I'm a part of the Cervical Cancer Foundation here, because a very good friend, her sister passed from cervical cancer at the age of 32. Wow. So I'm a part of that foundation as well, because it hit home in many areas of my life. It hit home, and then to see my best friend, her youngest sister, pass with this thing, that was really traumatic. And this person was a volleyballer, by the way. So very active, always eating right, tall and sexy for days. And I just decided, hey, I know Paj, but a legacy lives on, and we still want to make sure that the awareness is there for not just cervical cancer or breast cancer, but everything. Because cancer, I had a friend who lost his life to cancer in the neck. I'm like, what is that? Oh, this one, yeah, he had something in his neck. I'm like, what?
That's why I'm so in awe of Mel, to tell you the honest truth, because her sharing her story, which is a vulnerability that's so selfless, is there to empower women. It's there to educate people. People are going to listen to your story and pay attention, whether it's on Instagram, whether it's on the podcast, whether it's on YouTube. So it'll reach somebody who will say, wait a minute, this is her journey. She did this. She asked these questions. She's had a double mastectomy. She's going to have reconstruction, and it just triggers people to think. And not everybody's able to share that. We spoke to a lot of patients, but not all of them felt comfortable coming forward and sharing, because they're at a time when it's, it can trigger them. And you have to be mindful of that and understand that you're asking somebody with quite a phenomenal diagnosis to come forward. So that's why I'm literally hands down really in awe of you and you sharing your journey, because it'll touch so many women, and it's really, really brave of you, in my opinion. You're doing it. I don't know if I could have done it, so I have to respect that, because I think and I know that it'll touch lives, because people come in and say, I saw this thing or my friend had, and that's why I'm here to check. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, it was important to me because I'm so paranoid and preemptive and all that. I went searching for pictures of scars. I did all that.
Really? Pictures. Is it just for you to get a visual to make yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't see
get accustomed to seeing it. Are you serious?
Wow. If I saw, there were so few black women, and they were all way older than I was. So for me, I'm like, gosh, I'm not seeing any young black woman that I can look to and say, all right, this could be okay, and I'm so paranoid, and I have a little bit of OCD, I'm sure. So I told the doctors before, I'm like, listen, don't be cutting me all janky. Like, take your time. Make sure this thing even, I'm not.
Hey, quantities everywhere, I love it. I love it. Make me take little minutes. Yes.
And I'm like, what? Show me where the scars are going to be, like how long they're going to be, how much on the sides, like what we do it. And we went through everything and showed me. I'm like, all right, cool. Take your time. Right?
I'm amazed. I'm amazed. Part of the consultation we have with the breast care nurse, when they sit you down, when they decide, okay, we're going to do a mastectomy, plain, or we're going to do mastectomy with reconstruction, they sit you down, they show you scars. They show you scars on different women. They show you reconstructions on different women. They show you what you would look like without it and what with it, in a pamphlet. And so again, this is not a deliberate big up. This is just to say the fact that your personality, I don't think it's OCD. Your personality is one that made you go and get yourself informed to find out about scars. Yeah. There's so many people who wouldn't have done that and just taken what the doctor said as, but you wanted to know because you wanted to make that informed decision. And hopefully other people are the same, that they go and look it up. Thank God for the internet. They go and look it up to find out, what will I look like? And they have that voice to say, make sure my scars are in the right place so that when this thing is finished, I'm happy with them. Please, thank you very much.
Yeah. They will probably so annoyed with me. Because I had all my questions. I'm like, all right, tell me about this, tell me about this, tell me about this. Exactly.
You have to live with this. The part where you had a clip recently on Instagram where you spoke about companies now. Well, we know it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and everybody is wearing pink.
Oh boy.
Everybody's championing it. Now I know the awareness and the things that go with awareness in terms of the color and wearing the ribbon and all of the different merch and that kind of walks and all of these different things. They serve their purpose as well. Sure. Because they raise awareness and it causes people to be a little more cognitive that, hey, this is going on here. Let me read a little extra. Let me do this. Let me do that. But Mel said something the other day and it really resonated with me because a lot of people look to months like this to capitalize on the cause. So
that's all PR, right?
let's delve into that a little bit more so that people can be a little more sensitive towards this
Now, when
and a little more invested.
my experience with my mother, I think like she did the Scotiabank 5K, like she and my sister they did it. I wasn't able to run it so much back then. But
Because Gil,
I was like, running. I'll share you a lot. You know, but so they did it and whatever, and I always hated, like, her experience for me was how can I protect her throughout this experience, protect her energy, and you know, I didn't want her to be stressed out and all that good stuff. And I kept seeing all these campaigns and all these ads, and at the time I'm working in advertising, I'm working in media, so I'm like,
overkill.
this is annoying, you know, and this is just my mom. So now having been in this situation where I'm a patient, I'm a warrior, survivor, whatever term we want to use, I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ, like get rid of all the thing, please. You know, it's overwhelming. And I don't think companies take into consideration, brands, especially when you're doing campaigns, they don't take into consideration the psychological impact of even that. That level of overwhelm with the pink and the messaging and the
Wow, my pause reason because I have never thought of it like that.
Yeah.
But this is it's in my face all the time. So whilst we're trying to raise awareness for John public or for everybody else, that one patient or few patients who are actually going through this journey is like, could you stop? That's like telling someone, like, you know, if somebody has a family member that passes, your whole timeline is fraught with condolences and lost. Accept my loss. People don't say loss anymore, apparently. Accept my loss. I don't know where they get the tea from. But it's like and I want to go and correct them sometimes, you know, the ground police and I'm like, hey.
Yeah.
But and people are coming from a genuine place. But sometimes we get so busy with like that cliche things tend to be the norm now.
Yeah, but
and you lose sight of the actual cause. How about going to visit a patient? Mobilizing your staff to say, let's go visit cancer
let's reach out to the St. James staff and
see how we can help.
How can we support them? How can we, you know, help them build a cafe with air conditions for cancer patients who have hot
that's
flashes?
not there right now.
Not right now, no. How about we improve the PA system so people hear when you call their name? Because you can't eat in the clinic, you have to go outside, and then you run the risk of not hearing your name, so you don't eat. And people are there from like 5:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, so it's a lot. But October for me has turned into this kind of grief tourism month. So as a warrior, as a survivor, other people might see, no, I'm supportive, I'm with this. Might support me any other month of the year, please. Like any other month, I'm good. Miss me with October. Like we'll have these conversations. And this I'm fine with because it's educated, educational, educated. What am I? I'm tired.
They're raising awareness, yes.
But anyway, but it starts to feel a little like a mascot sometimes, or like a papi show, like I said in my video, because brands just wanna, and bless their hearts, like Massey has been great. Massey Foundation has been great. Massey Marketing. Like we need to talk because why we have somebody doing splits in Massey to raise awareness. Like what are you telling me about this yoga girl? And she's lovely, I'm sure, but it does not compute. Like what
I understand.
You know, people they search for vanity metrics in terms of who they engage to talk about it, and it's not making sense, and it's kind of insulting.
I understand. Yeah. Totally understand. I hope the message is well received. The message is why we being naked. That's why we have this podcast. But the thing is, I do hope that the message is well received and received in the right context.
It's a faith.
Yeah.
Because it's not, I'm not trying to jam anybody.
Exactly. The other thing is the use of pink. And I know that we have a lot of gender fluidity and stuff these days, but men also can get breast cancer.
Yep.
Right? And so to have that our master statement, that imagery and the messaging about women only going to get tested, men, we encourage you as well to get tested. So Natalie, speak to our men as well. Yeah.
So yes, you're absolutely right. Men also suffer from breast cancer, and they go through the same exact pathway. We haven't focused on breast awareness in men as yet, which testifies to what you were talking about, the pink ribbon. When this started, breast cancer awareness, it was when pink for girls, blue for boys, they chose a color. Yeah. And I agree, now things are very fluid, but we're very aware that we're seeing more breast cancer in men nowadays. We're probably doing about 3 cases per year, which is a big number considering that it's supposed to be rare in men. And they usually end up having a mastectomy. We're still in discussions talking about anything else, but they end up having a mastectomy. Do we tell men now to check their breasts? We're not quite there yet, but the recommendation, yes, they have to be aware, but we're not there yet where we're busy telling them to check their prostate. You know what I mean? At the moment. So it does exist. We do have to acknowledge it. Everybody needs to be breast aware, but with a man coming with a breast cancer, it's usually a lump that they find. There's nothing macho about it. Go see your doctor. You know, literally, go see your doctor. I was listening to what Mel was saying before about Breast Cancer Awareness Month becoming like Mother's Day or Valentine's Day. Everybody jumps on it to sort of commercialize it and maximize and show their awareness. But it sort of reminded me of not tokenism in a way, in that I sort of glean from what you're saying. If they have breast cancer patients talking about breast cancer awareness, we know it's not for 1 month. They're just utilizing that month to make it aware. But when it becomes gimmicky, where it is everybody just wants to say, oh, it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, let's do something for it. Without the concern that when Breast Cancer Awareness Month is finished, these patients are continuing their journey and their awareness. So I feel you on that. And it was really good to hear it because like Celine, I hadn't thought about that part of it. But again, breast cancer is something I'm doing every day. So I don't, the month is when we decide, like Black History Month. This month, we're going to talk about Black history. Yeah. Every day I'm making Black history because I have to live it and relive it and relive it. So for you, it's Black History Month. For me, it's my life. For them, it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. For you, it's your life. So I feel that. And I'm really glad you said it because it'll make us aware that it's not gimmicky. It's real life lived experiences you're talking about. Yeah. So whatever context they take it in, I think we should pay attention to that comment because it can also trigger people in their time when they were having a good month, and now it makes them cringe to think that this month everybody's going to be paying attention to this thing and not necessarily for the right reasons.
Yeah. What a way to think about that. Thank you for raising that, Mel, and continue to do what you do in terms of sharing your story, sharing your journey, because it's inspiring people who haven't even been diagnosed, as you know. I mean, I'm truly inspired. And for young girls as well, coming up here, because they know what to do. Because you're being so, I don't want to use the word normal, but I'll use it because it's transparency. Yeah, you're just being normal about this is a part of my life and I'm sharing this story. Yeah. Make sure and do what you have to do. And every part along the journey, you're seeing it. So we're looking at Russell. Hey, I'll be upset.
I'm literally looking out for it now. I cannot wait. I'm going to literally troll your Instagram page now. I'm solidifying the befores. I can't wait to see the rest of the journey.
And now I'm worried about what it is soon.
Well, no, you've made the right decisions every step of the way. I don't think we need to worry. You'll be fine. You'll be absolutely fine.
I really want to continue to encourage people to get tested in whatever we find out your family history. If Mel didn't know about her family history and she found Fred, it might have just been like, oh, it's probably just no one's from a period. Yeah. So she just went along merrily because she's not even 40 yet. Right? So understand that. So know your family's medical history. Make sure to keep checking your breast, men as well. And let us continue to have the conversation. speak about this. This is no longer taboo. This is no longer taboo. Cancer is a part of our lives. We don't want him anywhere around, but he's just there. So we try to get rid of him, and we have medical practitioners like Dr. Natalie Johnson on this conversation with us now, doing great things, because stepping out of the surgical world, doing things for people who are, it's that humanitarian aspect of it is what I love, Natalie, and really congratulations for that, because I don't think you would have thought of it if you weren't sensitized to it. So even though you see it every day, you're still very much aware of how people will think about it, how people will feel, and I really reach it for that.
Thank you, absolutely. I appreciate it.
We need some softies in Trinidad.
We need softies in Trinidad. So
trust me, it's on the top of my list. I'm working on it. Yes. Definitely. Yes.
So I just want to say thank you, ladies, for taking the time to share with us on Naked here today, because is there anything that either of you want to share with us before we close off?
A good way to remember to check yourselves would be feel them on the first of every month. Just check yourself. You know what your body feels like. You know when it feels different. That's it.
And Nancy?
I just want to say thanks for inviting me in this conversation. I have gleaned so much from it. It's really important to hear the patient aspect of it, and it reminds you the next time you see a patient, you're aware of that at the forefront of your mind. And it's just another thing that helps the experience if you can empathize a little bit better with what they're going through at different stages. So I think it's wonderful. As Mel said, definitely check yourself, but also I think we need to start moving away from that culture where we're afraid to speak, and we're afraid, sorry, my daughter's here, we're afraid to speak and we're afraid to share with our loved ones. That would make a huge difference.
For sure, definitely. Let's have that conversation.
It does. It takes a village.
Let's support each other, even those who may have had a family member. It's not them, but their family member. Be empathetic. So the message is very unanimous around us here. So we are definitely taking that to the wider community, to the wider world. This is what Naked is about. We're talking about solutions to the way that we handle life's issues. And so thank you again, ladies. I also want to say thank you to Villa de Amaya, the house in the bush. I'm sure you're overhearing the guys are doing some yard work outside, so I'm sure you're overhearing them, but it's all good. And if you didn't get to smell that lovely grass outside, were you smelling the grass smell? Yes. Natalie, sorry, you didn't get to smell the grass. But we definitely are appreciative of that. Villa de Amaya for the space. Kevin from Extocracy Photos, thank you so much for lending us your filming prowess. Also to Lance Fashions for outfitting me today. I find it a little cute in this dress. I don't think she's getting it back. But thank you to Lance Fashions as well. Guys, continue to enjoy the rest of your day, and remember to always be a good human. Bye-bye.